Hello, today we will be continuing the long-running trend of me getting serious envy from Yu-Gi-Oh cards and looking at my new Rikka build. Rikka are an archetype that was severely overshadowed by releasing in a set with two vastly superior decks, but that recently got new support that helps make it surprisingly functional. It is a plant deck focused on tributing your own monsters for cost. This has several problems that have been explored in decks before, where it struggles with resource retention, and it never was able to field enough disruption to make that severe cost worth it. But as with Power of the Elements, they received two new cards of Legacy support that, combined, really bring the deck up and make it potent and powerful. So I'm going to go over the build, what the cards do, and show some replays. Before I do, I will point out that Rikka are interesting because you can either run them pure, like I'm doing here, or you can run them as an engine in other plant decks. So I've run them with Arrow Mages, and you'll see a lot of people who run them in more like the Plant Link deck that was meta-relevant not long ago, where you see the heavy combos and Ethereans. There's a lot of ways to build them, but I'm focusing on a more pure control style deck, which also lets me fit some hand traps in. So going over it to start, we're going to have one each of the level 8s. Now Snowdrop is really the main one that we're working for here. She can tribute a plant for cost to special summon both her and another plant from the hand. This does lock you into plant for the rest of the turn, a running theme with this deck. And then she can target a plant on the field and change the level of all of your plants to that level, so she can set any of your XCs up. You also run one Hellebore. Now, this is very much an optional card. The main reason I'm running her is because you often want to search paired levels using one of the spells. She does have effects on her own that are pretty decent, though. She can bring herself back from the grave via a tribute, which is relevant for triggering Shrena and getting bodies on board, and she can serve as a negate of certain types of disruption in hand. This doesn't come up very often at all, but it is something that can happen. So yeah, one of each of those. Triple Mudon. Now Mudon is the kind of most important Rikka monster to my mind, because she is your combo. I'll show that combo in a moment, but basically Mudon searches a Rikka spell or trap by whenever she is summoned by a plant effect, including herself, and she can summon herself by tributing a plant. 2 copies of Primula. Primula is a level 4 that can summon itself from hand when a monster is tributed. She also has a level modification effect where she can increase 2 of your monster's levels by 2. That one you're pretty much never going to use, but the first effect is important because she'll summon herself when searched with Glamour. Triple Princess. Princess is one of the 2 new cards, and she has 2 effects. Number 1 is that she's just a free summon from hand, but while you control her, you can only summon plants. That's fine. And the other effect is that if she's in the grave or hand, you can shuffle her into the deck and tribute a plant to negate an activated monster effect. So she serves as an extender and one of your pieces of disruption. Then I'm running 3 Rose Girl. The card isn't as useful in this deck as it is in a lot of other plant decks, but I still like to have her because generating bodies in exchange for bodies helps play through things like Ash, Ogre, that kind of thing. And there are hands where you can make use of the extra plant. She's not like as important in this deck as in, say, my Arrow Mages, but she's still useful, so I run her. To those unfamiliar, she has 2 effects. The first is that if a plant leaves the field, you can summon her, and the second is that if she's in the graveyard, you can add her back to your hand as long as you have a plant on field, but you can only use one of those effects per turn, so you'll either be using her as an extender or adding her back. So generally it'll be, turn 1 extender, turn 3 recycle, turn 5 extender. Triple Lone Fire needs no introduction in plant decks. You'll always run 3 of Lone Fire. Tribute a plant, summon a plant. That simple. And then, actually going to skip that for a second. 3 copies of Petal. Petal's a neat card because in Rikka it's arguably the most powerful card in the deck, and in Rikka Engines I actually am a strong advocate for leaving it out. So Petal simply says, once per turn during your main phase, take a Rikka monster from your deck and put it in your hand or put it in the graveyard. So you're generally going to be normal summoning Petal, search Mudon, Mudon tribute Petal. The other cool thing about Petal, though, is if it's in the graveyard during your opponent's end phase, as long as you only control plants, you can summon it back. So it helps maintain that resource advantage. It is a little unfortunate that the current format means people are running hand traps that kill petal. Like pretty much the entire hand trap lineup of the current format stops petal, but we have 2 powerful grave decks in the format. I am running three different hand traps: triple ash, triple crow, in this case triple veil or imperm, sorry. And for these, you're just going to set it to whatever hand trap is good for your the format and your locals or regionals, whatever you're playing it. Very variable. Just pick hand traps. You can even get away with shifter. It hurts you a little too much for my taste, but you can do it. And depending on how the format shapes up, that might actually be the play. I am running a single Harpy Feather Duster, totally optional. I like having some back row removal in the main, partially because of my locals and partially because there's a lot of annoying back row in the format. I side the rest of it, but I like having one option just in case I get hit by a Mystic Mind deck or something. Anyway, triple Rikka Glamour. So Glamour is their search spell. On its own, it just searches a Rikka monster, but if you tribute a plant to activate it, you can search 2 Rikka, or a Rikka and a plant monster, or usually you'll be getting 2 Rikkas, as long as their levels are paired. So usually you're going to be getting the 2 4s, but sometimes you get the 2 8s. A copy of Terraform for the field spell, a copy of Called By, both because it helps protect us from hand traps, and because it's actually really good this format against the opponent's decks, so worth having. Triple Arrival. So Arrival is the new, other new card, the field spell. It has 2 effects. The first is that if you control a Rikka, you can set a Rikka spell or trap from the hand, from the deck to the spell and trap zones. If you didn't open Glamour, you're going to be setting Glamour, otherwise you'll get one of your back row. But the other effect is even cooler. Once per turn, if you attribute a plant monster to activate a Rikka card or effect, you contribute a face-up monster your opponent controls instead. And that is incredibly cool because it lets you use your tributes on your opponent's turn as additional disruption, or on your turn as removal. Like, activate Arrival and then activate Glamour tributing something like a Dragoon or something is incredibly funny to resolve. Very, very good card. Like, absolutely amazing. And then finally for the Rikka traps, 1 Tranquility, double sheet. Tranquility is kind of called it haunted. Tribute a plant and special summon a Rikka. If you tributed, you summon another plant. If you didn't, you just summon the Rikka from the grave. Helps get bodies on board. I like having one. And double sheet, it's Widow Anchor, so it negates, or it doesn't negate, sorry, it says your opponent can't activate that monster's effects, so don't try and use it as a negate. Remember, you have to use it before they activate. And then if you tribute, you can steal it. So one cool thing you can do is flip sheet, tribute, like if an opponent has 2 monsters, tribute one of them to steal the other. Like it works out pretty well. And then for the extra deck, 1 Zeus. You're not going to make it often because you're plant locked a lot, and when you're not, you don't want to have non-plants on board, but sometimes you just need that removal. Double Hyperion. Monster negate that you can pretty easily make by Estrella. Double Teardrop. You can run a 3rd, but she's really expensive, and you don't really go into 3 like ever, very rarely. So just 2. 1 Kanzashi, easily the worst Rikka monster. You rarely make her, but there are hands where she can be kind of useful. So, all right. Teardrop is a quick effect tribute of an opponent's card, so good dodging. But Kanzashi is weird because she's not disruption. She's got 2 effects. So if something is tributed, you can detach a material and then revive from either graveyard but negate it. So it's kind of a niche thing that you can use to get something out of your opponent's graveyard that they might want. Otherwise, you're using it to get plant buddies on your board to use to keep playing. The other cool effect she has, though, is that if a plant you control would be destroyed, you can tribute from your hand or field instead, and that can be used to kind of extend into other Rikka plays on occasion. Triple Strenna, best Rikka monster, came out after the initial wave in Code of the Duelist, I believe. 2 effects: detach a material to recycle a plant or Rikka card, put it back in your hand, and if it is attributed while it has material, you can basically rank up. You summon a level 5 or higher plant Xyz and then attach there. So you're going to make her detach 1 to recycle and then tribute her to go into your Hyperion or your Teardrop. So she is just amazing. 1 of the plant link 4, not as good in this deck as it is in others, but comes up as extra disruption you can make on really good hands. Access code, it's useful to have, along with Unicorn. Again, you're not going to make them very often, but sometimes you just want a little bit of extra. 1 copy of Jasmine. Unlike most plant decks, because they're not going combo, again, you don't make her that often, but there are hands where it's useful. Running theme with this extra deck. There's a lot of variability. Like, pretty much everything from here on could be replaced, and you'd be fine. One copy of the Sylvan Link. I don't like this card, but sometimes you have really bad hands where your only play is to just make it and pray. So she lets you excavate 3 cards from the top of your deck. If you special summon up to 2 plant monsters that you excavated, but you can't link them, and put the rest in the graveyard. And then you can target 1 plant that she points to that has, so you target 1 plant in the graveyard and then set the levels of what she points to that monster. So you can have weird edge cases where you summon 2 plants and then set them both to 4 and go into Strenna. That's kind of how you use her. Again, it's not like amazing, but there are weird hands where it comes up, and I have won games off the RNG before. And finally, one Drysis. Very niche in this deck, but you want to have it because there are going to be unusual hands where you need to get bodies on the board, or you want to get Petal in the graveyard because you've already used it. So like normal Petal, Link to Drysis, summon Rose Girl is a thing that you can do in some cases. Again, it doesn't happen that often, but utility, like pretty much all this. So yeah, it's a pretty cool deck. Before we get into the replays, I'll show just the core combo. Let's just grab a Petal, that'll work. So Petal is going to search Mudon, or if you open Mudon and not Petal, you can obviously summon any plant and then tribute. Mudon is going to tribute the Petal and search Con, which is the field spell. Con is going to set Glamour. Glamour is going to tribute Mudon, and you're going to search Primula and Princess. Primula is going to summon because you tributed. Princess is going to summon. Make Strenna. Detach Princess from Strenna to recycle. You're going to be recycling either the Glamour or the Mudon. I personally tend to like to recycle the Glamour, but Mudon is a case to be made for Mudon because Mudon can replace your Con if that dies, and that's going to be a target for removal. So whichever one you want to replace. And then this is like the core setup. So right now what you have is a negate of Princess who can tribute an opponent's monster for cost. Now on its own, so that's 2 disruptions. Or you can Princess tribute Strenna for cost, so you're not using Con in that case, and still get the negate, and Strenna will float into Teardrop, or you can float into the Hyperion. But what really makes this grow is that obviously whatever else you open contributes. So if you opened any of the traps sheet here, I can tribute, so I can use my Princess, tribute 1 opponent's monster to negate another. That's 2 disrupt. Sheet contribute the Strenna to get another disrupt and steal, and then the Strenna can float into Teardrop. Now we're up to 4. And if you opened either the field spell or you opened Glamour, and you run 3 of each plus terraforming, so it's more likely than not that it will happen, then you can use that to set a back row. So there's like 10 or 11 cards that you can open, that if you open any of those, it goes from 2 disrupts to 4. So it's a pretty good play to know. And you kind of just grow from there. So now let's just go watch a couple replays, and then that'll be it. Rikka demo. Where's the first one I wanted to do? Yeah, Rikka versus the Speed was one that I started naming them. And you will see the hand trap lineup shift slightly in some of these replays as I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. Here they veiled my Petal, but that's fine. Because I actually got the field spell, so I don't need the Primula. I can just go straight for Glamour. Oh, sorry, I don't need the Mudon. Sorry. So standard Despia stuff. I don't want him to do that. I don't want him to do that. No, we'll see the Strenna float. And I'm going to drop the Primula, just have a body. Dragostalia is kind of obnoxious. I'm leaving it live because if I activate Teardrop here, he's just gonna, yeah, his Petal's gonna come back. He's gonna negate, so I'm holding that. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and search again. Get another princess. Now he's gonna do his fusioning, and that's absolutely fine. Because I'm gonna tribute that off. And whenever he pops, like, I don't care. And here we're kind of just spamming bodies. We have to play around one, but it's nothing. And yeah, we just use Princess to negate his snow by tripping the Dragstapelia. We made that, tributed it off. Brenna's gonna float into Kanzashi. And the reason we're tripping to summon with her is now we have our place it up. I'd rather you didn't do that. He's going to attempt to negate. We're going to tribute that off now. We'll make Mirror Jade. It's fine, because we have Sheep. And basically what we just did is we forced him to, like, he got rid of his own Mirror Jade with his effect, so Mirror Jade's board light doesn't go off. This deck just goes and goes and goes. Okay. What was this again? Iron Dragons. This is a quick one. So here you're going to see get Petal Formula, and now I'm terraforming just because I want to kind of save my set if I can. So you see we use Glamour to go straight. We haven't actually activated Con yet. Now we're going to go ahead and set one in the back row. He was right to try and attack because he knew it was coming, so I had no choice but to kind of burn disruptions early, but it's Arm Dragon, he's not doing much. And that was a rival tripping his monster off for her own Glamour. And I did not put a 3 in here. Okay. Here we're versus a very unusual adventure Ethereum build. Owner Seal is such a weird card. I don't know why I'm seeing it all over casual, I don't know. It's neat, it's just kind of funky. And you can see we keep going to this same line because it's such a great line for setting things up. Just get some back row in place. And you'll notice that we went straight for the Petal instead of the Lone Fire here. And the simple reason is that Lone Fire is ashable after tributing and we lose the body, so if we can, we'd always rather have Petal first. This is whatever, I just want to keep this alive so I can utilize it. And I am sure now if he's going to attempt to float it, I am going to negate that. Go ahead and start recycling some of our back row because we just want to have it all live. And he's unders. Alright. 2 more. So here we're against Dogmatica Invoked, featuring DP. Unfortunately, we opened pretty poorly. So we're kind of going to be on the back foot at first, but it's okay. Now, he really needed to use his DP on one gun, but he doesn't. Which means we're just going to tribute it away. And that's great. He chose to hold his DP under Kong, which was a misplay on his part, but it let us just remove it. And because it wasn't destroyed, it won't even come back. So. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Finally, we got our pedal in circulation, and at this point, we're so resource good that there's really no risk. Get a monster negate up. We've got Mudon, so we can circulate a piece of back row. And we can go ahead and set our levels. And at this point, we're up to 4 to 5 disruptions, depending on how you count it. Like, he's got 2 cards in hand, we're golden. Alright, and finally. Here we are against another branded deck. And we're going to go ahead and set ourselves a climber. That's annoying. Super poly into the bird is something that we're seeing a lot now. I'm going to go ahead and tribute the bird off so I can negate and steal his Aluber. And Pedal comes back and we get to kind of reset. So we know he can fuse him because we know if Brandon has set cards, one of them is going to fuse. So we're just waiting to see what he does. But we're going to try and go into our main line here. We're going to go ahead and negate that, tributing off his, and there you go. And that's the cool thing. So basically, because we can keep tributing and stealing his resources, it's very difficult for these decks to stick to their game plans, and especially if they're more used to, always doing the same lines, then they'll really struggle to adapt a lot of the time. So yeah, it's a really fun deck, and it's awesome that Rikka is, finally playable. That's all.